a drag show, essentially a drag show / toy drive that is happening in San Antonio, where, literally you've got video of an unaccompanied person, little kid, essentially being accosted by these drag performers. So much so that the event actually said they're going to cancel them going forward this month.
So yeah, we would, Brandon, call that a win. It's obviously disgusting when a parent walks in these establishments with a child in tow, but when we have footage of young, sweet children being left to wander these disgusting drag shows and then have these disgusting and perverted drag clowns play with the girls' hair and compliment their clothing and flirt with them, we think that is sexual abuse on display.
Disturbing footage surfaced of a drag queen performing in front of infants. Yes, infants. The vision is so shocking that we have to heavily blur it. But these are grown adults in bondage gear or in G-strings strutting around in front of tiny kids, infants, toddlers. The heavily sexualised drag shows is just the latest in a growing list of drag events being targeted towards children. Joining me now is Sky News contributor Dominique Samuels. Dominique, you were the first to expose this footage on Twitter. It was your tweet that went viral. Tell me about these performances for toddlers and babies. Why?
Right, well, it is quite the saga because when I came across these screen recordings and screenshots I was sent by my followers, I was absolutely horrified. Did a bit of digging, bit of investigation, and it emerged that this company is a baby cabaret company. It's called Cabba Baba Rave. So this is heavily sexualized events involving drag queens and people wearing barely any clothing, dancing suggestively, but it's targeted at young children. And people have said, well, they don't know what's going on. The babies don't know what's going on. It's for the parents. The easy answer to that is then why not leave your babies at home and enjoy that sort of behavior that would be best placed in a strip club? And there are real concerns here in terms of child safeguarding. I've spoken to numerous experts that do believe that there are serious issues here. And many people, including myself, have the personal belief that these sorts of acts and behaviors are really akin to grooming, actually.
Well, absolutely. And we don't allow, dads to take the babies along to, I don't know, the local strip club because, I'm sick of the other baby activities, so the baby can come along and see what I want to see, because we recognise there are things that are suitable perhaps for adults if they choose to partake in them, but children should be protected from it. Now, again, you wouldn't take a child to a strip club. Why would you have a man dressed as a woman in a G-string dancing for them? It just seems just perverse. It really does. It seems like we're in a bit of a civilizational decline right now with this degeneracy. And I'm fairly relaxed about most things, but this is something that if you're relaxed about, then I think you're on a different planet.
Exactly. And this is the issue. There are so many people that have come out and defended this, even peddling conspiracy theories that I have somehow doctored and faked these videos, which is absolute nonsense. These are directly from the Instagram. They were paraded all over this Instagram page. They were proud of what they were doing.
Yeah, they're promoting it.
They're promoting it. Once they got backlash, it was a different story. And look, this isn't just about Cabba Baba Rave. This is about a wave of events targeting children. Initially, I was investigating a drag event at the Honor Oak pub in Lewisham, which is in London, where there is a drag queen in a mini skirt and PVC boots, stripper heels, that belong in a strip club, gyrating and doing the splits on the floor whilst a confused young girl watched on. And in the caption of the video that this drag queen posted, they said, "It'll be sexy," they said. "Wear a mini skirt," they said. And the question is, why would you need to look sexy at an event targeting children? That's a real serious question that I think needs answering by a lot of the people hosting these inappropriate events.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you're doing some work there, but it's coming with a cost. I know you're receiving all sorts of vicious hate, people telling you to kill yourself because you posted that video and exposed what was happening. Yeah. Just quickly, tell me about some of the hate you've copped, because I know personally I've copped it as well. These activists can be particularly vile and misogynistic.
Yeah, I mean, I've been called a TERF, told to kill myself, trash, saying that they can't believe two people met, fell in love and made me, which is really quite nasty, actually. But these people are deranged, and they're deranged by an ideology that is being pushed onto our children every single day. Currently, there's controversy in the UK over our sex education guidelines that are teaching kids about this warped gender ideology of cisgender and non-binary as fact. Even some teachers saying what happens in this room stays in this room with regards to sex education. That's something that a sexual predator would say, and this is being normalized. And I will shout from the rooftops about the sexualization of children until something is done, and until this government, in my country at least, acts.
Absolutely. And there was a disturbing report from the Telegraph on what you just talked about, the sort of lessons children are getting about 100 genders and gender being fluid, and even some primary school kids that young being told all about masturbation and taught about masturbation, which is, again, why. But you've got a Tory government there. Why is this happening when you elected supposedly a Conservative government in a landslide?
They have just completely lost control. There is no conservative ideology in the UK. It's being controlled by these pressure groups and these lobbyists that are really abusing our public services and the public purse, hosting drag queen story hours at councils, funding activist trans lobby groups that are actually pushing this sort of heavily sexualized and, quite frankly, scientifically inaccurate these guidelines onto schools, and the government just don't know anything about it. Thankfully, a Conservative MP called Miriam Cates, she's actually pushing this issue, which I'm very, very grateful for. But in many people's eyes, this is too little too late, because our kids are being actively groomed by these activists and these lobbyists that, quite frankly, are out of touch with reality.
Why are these performances unacceptable?
Firstly, for the people that say, oh, the babies don't even know what's going on, if you actually look on the website, it's an organisation specifically targeted at babies. For something to be baby sensory, you are obviously going to curate, as they've said, the activities to children. The question is, why do men and women wearing barely any clothing, wearing nipple tassels, wearing bondage gear and stripper heels and thongs, need to be performing for children?
Cost of living.
Sorry.
Why would you need to do that? These are hyper-sexualized environments, and this has got nothing to do with being anti-LGBT.
Yeah.
In fact, it's actually pretty homophobic to suggest that hyper-sexualized themes and caricatures of women through drag acts need to constantly be associated with being gay. That's incorrect.
Amy, can I just say, if I had no money to my name whatsoever, there is a pretty straightforward reason why I wouldn't put a thong on and dance in front of children, and that's because I think that might make me look like a paedophile.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
No, it's not.
That you could actually correlate drag queens to paedophilia. That's what you just did.
Gyrating in front of babies.
A man in a thong.
Gyrating in front of a baby.
And this is the thing with drag culture. So it's perfectly fine, it's fun. I've been to those sorts of events myself, but these are adult environments that they belong in, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of drag queens would feel extremely uncomfortable with being virtually naked in a thong, dancing for toddlers.
Do you not take
Amy.
right? So I refute how hypersexualized that those 5-second clips can.
We've seen more. It's very sexualized.
On the whole, drag queens were working with children in the UK are all completely DBS checks, do a child
DBS
appropriate...
It means you've not been caught.
Okay, well then...
So that's the DBS check nonsense.
I think if there was one example of a drag queen grooming a child for sex, then you might have a leg to stand on with this. But there are 90% of child abuse cases
in America,
are with
sex
parents
that
and
went
people
to
that
a drag
live
queen
in
story
their house.
Let's just cut to the chase. I'm a father of 3 children. If anyone took my kids to see that sort of show...
It's not compulsory, Adam.
I would string them up, right? That is disgusting.
To you?
It's perverted. It's depraved.
In your opinion?
No. Would you take your child to that?
Firstly, that's for babies, so it's basically more for the parents. So I remember when my son was
Would you take your child to that?
So the local cinema used to do
One second.
Can I answer your question?
Would you take your child to that show?
Any sexualisation of that would go completely over the baby's head, and they would see colours, makeup, and fun, and hear the music.
I would go as far to say,
can I give
anyone that takes their child to that needs their hard drive checked. You know, it's perverted and depraved.
Yeah, it's completely legal. There's nothing illegal going on. The thing is, personal choice.
We don't know.
In your opinion,
we don't know actually if it's completely legal because there are some real safeguarding concerns in those environments.
We're seeing it now. Just sorry to interrupt you, but this is what we're looking at now. So it's a man upside down with a leopard print thong on,
which you might see on the beach.
Bum out. I'm pretty sure we'll see something.
A beach and that is not comparable. Don't be so ridiculous.
Toddlers then.
Number one, they're paid.
What are you scared of? What do you think is going to happen to these babies?
Number one, their parents are paid to be there. And number two, they are interacting and in close proximity to children.
A family can be made up in many different ways.
It's called SOGI, for Sexual Orientation and Gender Identification, a curriculum that teaches public school students across Canada to celebrate the homosexual lifestyle and that gender is fluid. In other words, your gender is not dependent on what parts you were born with, but rather what you feel like in the moment.
There's people that are boys, there's people that are girls. There are people whose gender might be a little bit of both or might even be neither.
Lessons include books about transgender children, such as 10,000 Dresses, and songs like the Rainbow Song.
Gender won't decide the choices we make. Some boys like dressing up, some girls like catching snakes.
The SOGI curriculum started in British Columbia in 2016 and is quickly spreading throughout Canada.
I just thought, who decided that this was okay to teach our children?
You must have heard about the bizarre and growing phenomenon in our schools. That is drag queen story time. It's one of the most disturbing trends facing our country today. I'm happy to see protests at these events becoming larger and more common. We must stop this explicit effort to normalize gender ideology, particularly amongst children. It is incredibly irresponsible and will damage an entire generation of young Canadians. Trans activists and their woke supporters are actively indoctrinating and confusing children. They are pushing them towards an unhealthy lifestyle, a lifestyle filled with harmful hormone treatments and invasive surgeries. It is not a lifestyle that should be normalized or encouraged. But because of these radical activists, more and more kids are being confused about their sexual identity, and there is a disturbing suicide rate among trans people. It is like the new counterculture. Teens looking to rebel against their parents can do so by identifying as a non-standard gender or as the other sex. Teenage rebellion is natural, but identifying as hippies or punk years ago did not result in children going on hormone treatments that could permanently damage their bodies and even leave them sterile. Our children must be protected from this insidious ideology. Justin Trudeau is totally on board with this, and Pierre Poilievre has nothing to say. He and the rest of his so-called Conservative Party all voted in favor of Bill C-4, a bill that criminalizes parents and professionals trying to help confused children who suffer from gender dysphoria. Only the People's Party is willing to call out this insane and disturbing ideology for what it is and protect our nation's children.